श्याम सुंदर हमारे यार लखन को जिया लल के
श्याम सुंदर हमारो यार लखन को जिया लल के
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 श्याम सुंदर। राधे राधे। श्री राधा कृष्ण भगवान की, जगत गुरु श्री कृपालु जी महाराज की, श्री राधा कृष्ण टेम्पल ऑफ बे एरिया की। Very happy to be in the midst of all of you to discuss the Bhagavad Gita. Before we begin, kindly take a moment to see that your mobile phones are in the silent mode, in the flight mode, because we'll be flying, cruising at 30,000 feet altitude. You can all settle down. The essential ingredient for success in the spiritual journey is divine wisdom, knowledge. Because ajnanamevasya hi moola karanam. The Vedas say the root cause of the suffering of humankind is lack of knowledge. Even to do any material thing well, you have to understand the theory and then do the practice. Likewise, on this spiritual journey, the clearer your concepts, the more soundly you will move towards your desired supreme goal. And rather than just pulling out concepts from the air, we take them from our sacred scriptures. Amongst these sacred scriptures of the Vedic tradition, the Bhagavad Gita is veritably the entry point to all knowledge, plus the summary of all these scriptures. The Bhagavad Gita has got 3 sections. The first 6 are discussing karma. The second 6 are discussing bhakti. And the next 6 are discussing jnana. I have chosen for this 4-day series the last of the bhakti chapters, which is titled Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion. Particularly because it's got just 20 verses, and at a comfortable pace, we can try and comprehend these. Let us start with the first one. Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yuktaye Bhaktas-tvam paryupasate Ye chapyaksharam avyaktam Tesham ke yoga vittamah. Translation. Arjuna inquired, between those who are steadfastly devoted to your personal form and those who worship the formless Brahman, who do you consider to be more perfect in yoga? How many of you have savored the Gita to some extent? At least 50%. The previous chapter is the one where Sri Krishna displayed his cosmic form, his universal form. He showed how infinite universes reside in his being. And seeing that colossal form, Arjuna became scared and prayed, please hide this. Danshtra karala nichate mukhani drishtva kala nala sannibhani disho na jane nalabhe cha sharma prasida devesha jagannivasa. Oh Shri Krishna, my mouth is drying up, my feet are trembling, my knees are shaking. Please hide this form and come back into your two-armed Swarup. So Sri Krishna obliged Arjuna. This happened in the previous chapter. Now in this chapter, Arjuna is questioning innocently that Sri Krishna, I have seen two of your forms. One is the formless aspect and one is this personal aspect. The worship of which of these two forms do you consider more perfect in yoga? Right? Very natural question that flows out of the sequence of events. So one takeaway from the question is that both these are aspects of God. Because there's often a debate in Indian spirituality. Some people say God is only formless. Some say he only has a form. But this question is validating the viewpoint that he is both Sakar and Nirakar. Well, that Lord who has made this astonishing world, which is full of forms and attributes and virtues, does he not have the ability to take a form himself? Or is it that he says, I don't have the Shakti to manifest in a form, so I'm only light? Now look what the Vedas say about him. Ambodhisthalatam sthalam jaladhitam dhuli lava shailatam merur mritkanatam trinam kulishatam vajram trinaprayatam vahne shitalatam himam dahanatam mayati asyechaya leela durlalitat bhutavyasanane devaya tasmai namah. That God has the power to convert a desert into the ocean and the ocean into desert, to destroy the mountain and make it mud and transform the mud into mountain. That God is infinitely powerful. So for the infinitely powerful God, we cannot circumscribe him and say, you cannot be having a form or you cannot be light. And what do the Vedas say in this regard? Regarding creation, the Vedas say, smitametasya characharam nishvasitamasya veda vikshitamasya panchabhutani smitametasya characharam. Prior to creation, when there was dissolution, at that time God was lying in Yoga Nidra. And from his breath the Vedas manifested. And when he opened his eyes, the Panch Mahabhut got created. And smitametasya characharam, when he smiled, all the living beings came into existence. So that God is Satya Sankalp. If you make a house, you need to actually get the contractor, the builder, the designer, etc., etc. But God just thinks and his energies get into action. So if God smiled, it means he does have a form. Otherwise, how will he smile? In fact, Kripaluji Maharaj points this out and he says, Srishti Purva Haris Dekhata Sochata Mridu Musakata Saguna Rupa Sakara Nita Ved Vidita Vikhyata. Prior to creation, God smiled. This is his personal form. So both these are aspects of God. The Vedas themselves say, Dvevav Brahmano Rupe Murtanchaiva Amurtancha. This much of Sanskrit everybody knows. Murt with a form, Amurt without a form. Shankaracharya, the propagator of Advait Vedanta, he says, Murtan chaiva murtan dve eva brahmano rupe ityupanishattayorva dvau bhaktau bhagavadupadishtau kleshada kleshadva muktisyadetayor madhye. God is formless and without form. There are devotees of that personal form. There are devotees of the formless. But Arjun's question still remains. The worship of which of these Sri Krishna do you consider superior? We'll have to go to the next verse to answer. Time to switch it up. Number 2. Is everybody's curiosity sufficiently aroused? Are we all tuned in? You want to hear Sri Krishna's answer? Some people don't want to hear. Okay. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Mayyaveshya mano ye mam
Mayyaveshya mano ye mam
Nitya yukta upasate
Nitya yukta upasate
Shraddhaya parayopetas
Shraddhaya parayopetas
Te me yuktatama matah.
Deve yuktatama matah.
Translation. The Lord said, those who fix their minds on me and always engage in my devotion with steadfast faith, I consider them to be the best yogis. To understand Sri Krishna's answer, I will refer a little to the Srimad Bhagavatam. There, Sutaji Maharaj explains to Shaunakadik in the 2nd chapter of the 1st canto, he says, Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnana madvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. He says the tattvavetas, the knowers of the truth, have stated that the supreme divine entity, Bhagavan, manifests in this world in 3 forms. One is Brahman, one is Paramatma, and one is Bhagavan. You may say, Swamiji, these are just synonyms. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Right. But they have different attributes. Just like ice, water, and steam. What is their commonality? They are all H2O, and yet their attributes are different. In one place there was water placed. You gave heat from below, it evaporated. Somebody said, I had put water here, where is it gone? You say it's flown off. But all the doors and windows were closed. How did it fly? It flew in the form of steam, not water. The attributes changed. Another person came from the hot August sun of Bay Area and said, give me water. And you gave him a block of ice. He said, what is this? This is also H2O. Ari Baba, this will not quench my thirst. The attributes are different. Likewise, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan have different attributes. What is Brahman? That aspect of God which is all pervading, which is full of eternality, knowledge and bliss, which is Sat Chit Anand. But it doesn't have a form, it doesn't do pastimes. This Satchidanand, all pervading aspect of the Supreme is called Brahman, and it is worshipped by the Jnanis. So, the Shvetashvatar Upanishad states, Eko Devaha Sarvabhuteshu Gudaha Sarvavyapi. God is everywhere. This is a very typical Hindu concept. We don't say that He made the world and from the seventh heaven He's peeping. What's going on in my world? They need to send me a WhatsApp so I'll get to know. He is everywhere. Ghat, Ghatavasi. That all-pervading form, Prabhu Vyapaka Sarvatra Samana, is called Brahman, and it is the Aradhya of the Jnanis. The second aspect of the Supreme Divinity is Paramatma, who resides in the hearts of each and every living being. So within you is the soul, that is the real you, and the Supreme Soul, that is the Paramatma. People say, मारने वाले के दो हाथ, बचाने वाले के चार हाथ. That four-armed one is the Paramatma Vishnuji, who is residing within in his formless aspect as the localized Supreme Soul. Sitting inside, He notes our thoughts, our actions, and He keeps account. We will forget, but He does not. Dhritarashtra asked Sri Krishna that what karma did I do? In front of me, my 100 children died, and I am bearing the grief of their separation. Sri Krishna said, it was not in this life, Dhritarashtra. 50 lives ago, as a hunter, you went after a father swan, and it flew away, which sent you into a rage. And while the helpless father swan was looking, you finished its 100 little helpless children. And this is the consequence of it. He said, why am I bearing the consequence after 50 lifetimes? Sri Krishna said, it took you 50 lifetimes to accumulate the punya, pious merits, to again get the human form and to get 100 sons. So God knows what we did at every moment of our life and all our past lives. And for each and every one of us, that indwelling Supreme Divinity, the Paramatma, is worshipped by the yogis. The yogis who follow the system of Ashtanga Yoga for spiritual elevation, they focus on the inner indwelling Supreme. This is no different from Brahman. It's not that there are two gods. It's the same God in his second manifestation. And the third manifestation is when he takes an avatar. He descends in his personal form and does leelas and pastimes. That is called Bhagavan. So, for example, Sri Krishna is displaying his Roop Madhuri, Murli Madhuri, Leela Madhuri, Saukamarya, Saushilya in his Bhagavan Swarup. Now, this Bhagavan is worshipped by the devotees. Now, remember, this chapter is called Bhakti Yoga. So, what is the difference between these three? Why is Sri Krishna saying he considers the devotee to be the dearmost?